Am I the a-hole for dropping out of my cousin's wedding party after a prank? Am I the a-hole for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my boyfriend's family? Last year, I moved in with my BF and his dad. My BF and I were in a long-distance relationship for a few years, and I moved across the country to be with him after I finished graduate school. Due to such a large distance, I opted to sell my car and buy a new one after moving. When I did this, my boyfriend helped me out by loaning me some money to help pay the down payment, but I have since paid him back. Last week, my BF's older sister, who lives in another state, came to visit and stayed in the house with us. This was my first time meeting her, and I thought she was very nice, but I didn't get to know her well. 2 days ago, my BF and I were out running errands together, and his sister called him to ask when he would be back, so she could borrow his car to hang out with her friend in the town about an hour away. He told her it would be a while and then asked if it was okay to borrow my car. My boyfriend asked me and I told him I was not comfortable with that and to tell her no. My boyfriend did tell her no and I heard the entire conversation. Well, a few hours later, my boyfriend and I got home and my car was gone. I was shocked and my boyfriend was confused. We went into the house. His dad informed us that he gave my BF's sister the spare key to my car that was in the lockbox because she said she needed to go somewhere. My boyfriend told him that she asked to drive my car and that we had told her no, so he didn't understand why she was allowed to take it, and his dad said that since my BF helped pay for the car, that it therefore was partly his, which meant his sister had the right to drive it as well. I was absolutely livid, and I couldn't believe that anyone would do something like this. My name is the only one on the title, insurance, etc. I am the sole owner. My BF told his dad to call her and tell her to bring my car back immediately, and said she would be home soon. Well, after 2 hours, I called the police and reported my car stolen because I was worried that if it got damaged or something, then I would be forced to pay the repairs, even though it wasn't my fault. My BF's dad and sister were pissed about this, and they accused me of trying to get them arrested. They are now demanding that I apologize to them and tell the police that was all a misunderstanding, but I really don't want to because I feel like they've tried to take advantage of me. My boyfriend agrees with me, but he even said he thinks calling the police to report my car stolen may have been too far. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It wasn't a misunderstanding. She straight up stole your car. If she had gotten arrested, she'd have no one to blame but herself. Also, considering what an a-hole your BF's dad is, you probably should look into moving out as soon as you can. Not the a-hole. She asked to borrow your car and you said no. She took the car despite you saying no. She stole your car. You reported her for stealing your car because again, she stole your car. Don't back down, or I predict this sort of thing will happen more in the future with your sister-in-law and father-in-law. Not the a-hole. The dad and sister are thieves and FAFO'd. If they get arrested, yay. Do not apologize. Do not retract the police report. I just want to be nosy. What's your plan? Because you know you're getting kicked out after this, right? Not the a-hole. If they don't want to be accused of stealing, then maybe they shouldn't take someone else's property without permission. Am I the a-hole for getting a pregnancy craving during a party? I, 29 female, am pregnant with my boyfriend Sam, 32. Sam and I went to a party for his family. No momentous occasion, just a normal family get-together. During my pregnancy, I have had intense craving. While we were at the party, I told Sam I was craving a slushie, about 30 minutes away. We had just arrived about 20 minutes prior, and he said to give him a little while, and we'd go get one. After about 30 more minutes, I said it again to Sam. He said, fine, get in the car. On our way, we got into an argument, and he thinks the craving could have waited a couple hours. He's now mad at me. We have to leave the party early. We see his family 2 to 3 times a month, sometimes more, and I don't think it's a big deal to leave when I have a craving. Am I the a-hole? Thank you, everyone. I get it. I'm the a-hole. But I can't handle the death threats in my inbox, so I'll be deleting this account off my phone. Is there a word for pregnant women that's synonymous with bridezilla for brides? There should be. You're the a-hole for not being able to wait an hour longer. You're the a-hole. You don't have to have everything you crave during your pregnancy the second it pops into your head. You could have waited. Also, why couldn't you go and get it yourself if you wanted it so badly? Why did he need to go with? You're the a-hole. I've had 2 kids. I get cravings, but you don't get to demand that your BF leave a get-together 20 minutes after you've driven 30 minutes to get there. Yes, he put it off and you were oh so not patient for another 30 minutes. SMDH. It's a big deal, and honestly seems like a total power play. I would really consider how long he's going to stick around for this kind of disregard for him and his wants. You're the a-hole. Just because you get a craving doesn't mean everybody has to drop everything to accommodate you. If you don't get the slushie, you'll live. Even in such a short post, you come off as childish and entitled. I've got 5 offspring. There's nothing you can tell me about cravings I haven't experienced. You're the a-hole. Cravings are not an immediate, oh my god, must have it now or I'll perish need. Grow up. Would I be the a-hole for not attending my brother's birthday party because I can't bring my dog? I, 28F, have a 3-year-old German Shepherd, Lou, who is the sweetest dog I've ever met. She's very cuddly and loving once she's gotten used to you. However, she was abused as a puppy and has separation anxiety. We've been working with a professional trainer and she's been making improvements, but currently leaving her home alone for more than an hour simply isn't possible. My brother lives 45 minutes away. away. It's hard to gain her trust, so getting someone to watch her on short notice is nearly impossible. The last time I visited my brother, 39M, his wife, 42F, stepped on Lou's tail and quite obviously it hurt. She didn't bite or even try to do so, but she barked quite loudly before running to hide behind me. I asked my sister-in-law whether she was alright and she said she was, so I didn't think anything else of it. After all, she'd known Lou for almost 2 years before the incident. But my brother invited me to his birthday party next weekend and he told me to leave Lou at home, and when I asked for the reason, he told me sister-in-law thought she was too aggressive to be around the guests. She isn't, but it's their house, their rules, and I want to respect her wishes, so I simply called my usual dog sitter, who told me that unfortunately they weren't available. Anyone else who has watched Lou in the past will also be at my brother's party, so I don't have anyone to watch her. I told my brother I could either A, bring Lou and keep her on a leash at all times, or B, take Lou with me and take turns with my mom walking her around the neighborhood so I could be able to stay a bit without his wife having to face my dog, or C, come over with Lou in the car to congratulate him and bring over his present, but leave shortly afterwards as I don't want her to be alone for the car for more than 15 minutes. He told me that he didn't like any of these options because his wife didn't want my aggressive dog on their property, in their driveway, or in their neighborhood in general. I apologized and told him if that was the case, I wouldn't be able to come at all. He has told me he's disappointed, but especially my sister-in-law has been bombarding me with texts about how he's selfish for putting my dog before my brother, and that I was an a-hole of a sister to do that to him on his 40th birthday. I think I've proposed reasonable enough compromises, edit, and because all of them were declined, I don't see what other options I have left except for staying home. But in the end, I'd still like to hear the opinions of unbiased internet strangers to be sure, not the a-hole. Your dog is preventing you from attending some social event, and if that is how you want your life to be, then it's only up to you. Sucks for your friends and family, but that's your decision. You cannot be forced to abandon your pet, but you cannot force people to be around him, not the a-hole. If they don't like any options you gave them, they shouldn't expect you to attend. Not wanting the dog in their neighborhood is a bit over the top. I know you love your dog, but you can't leave it alone for over an hour. That's a big problem. You are making your life revolve around the dog. That should add to your life, not take things and people away from it. Please get help from a trainer to help your dog overcome its separation anxiety, not the a-hole. Next time your sitter is available, leave the dog with them and go out to do something for your brother's belated birthday and give him his present. There, simple, not the a-hole. You were invited to the party and you can politely decline to go to a party. I've not been on vacation for 4 years because I have a large house dog. She doesn't do well in hot weather and she has separation anxiety for me to be gone longer than 10 to 12 hours. She's okay with my in-laws but starts to hunt for us a few hours after, so we simply don't go if we can't take her. Dogs are a commitment that you sign up for. Am I the a-hole for sending our son away after he revealed to his sister's friends that she has dentures? My husband and I have a 14-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son. When our daughter was 8, she developed a very rare mouth infection that just absolutely devastated her teeth and gums. She ended up losing all her teeth in both sets and had to have some corrective work done just so she could have regular dentures. Obviously, this was very traumatic for her, and she's still in therapy to help cope to this day. Our daughter is very understandably self-conscious about this, and none of her friends knew about them. In fact, nobody besides her doctor and dentist know outside the family, and she doesn't want people to know. She's very worried about people finding out, and won't even take her teeth out in front of the rest of us. She's worried someone will see. Her and her brother had a good relationship until he did what he did last week. He somehow recorded her taking out her teeth without her noticing, and then showed all her friends when they were over. Not only have they all turned on her, but half the school is teasing her non-stop, and she even had to change her phone number because dozens of kids were texting her the most vile things imaginable. I've never been more ashamed of one of my children until that moment. I don't know where we went wrong raising him, but apparently he thought it would be funny. After I kicked out her friends who were mocking her and helped her through a panic attack, I called my father to pick him up and told him to pack a bag and get out. He's been staying with my parents 2 towns over. They didn't know what happened until 2 days ago. That came up because driving him to school was becoming a hassle and they wanted to know what was up. When I explained, they were disgusted, but still wanted to know if they could bring him home. I asked them if they'd take care of registering him for school in their town, and they agreed, but were shocked. My husband and I talked, and we just cannot have him here. My sister hates him. We're so ashamed we can't even think of calling him. It sounds awful, but I don't think our relationship can recover from this. And maybe this is what he needs. No friends, no family aside from his grandparents. Having to start over might just set him right. My parents are willing to keep him until he's 18, but think we're too emotionally charged to be making this decision now. What he did was vile, and he deserves a harsh punishment for what he did to his sister. However, I don't think the punishment issued fits the crime. You can't just throw your son away, and you can come back from this. It will take a lot of therapy for all of you, but it can happen. I honestly don't know how to judge this post though. Everybody sucks here. I love that you have your daughter's back and apply serious consequences for your son. What I don't love is that you didn't mention how he reacted to the aftermath of what he has done and the consequences. I also think it is an overreaction to permanently disown your son and cut him from your life. He is still your son. Yes, terrible mistake, but still a minor and still your son. You should be working with him and not just be like this. So yes, let him live with his grandparents, but work on a way to rebuild your own, not your daughter's, relationship with him. Call, let him volunteer work, something. You're the a-hole. You don't kick children out instead of parenting them. You're the a-hole. He's your son and he's a kid. Kids make make mistakes. Adults make mistakes too. You've effectively disowned your kid instead of just teaching them a lesson. If you continue doing what you're doing, don't be surprised if your son keeps up no contact when he's older and wants nothing to do with you. Would I be the a-hole if I took my son and his friends out for his birthday instead of my wife and stepdaughters? I, M42, have 3 kids, a son Isaac, 12, almost 13, with my ex, who's no longer in the picture, and twin stepdaughters from wife's previous relationship, Emma and Ava, 7. Isaac's 13th birthday is coming up next week, and he said that he wants to go to the movies and asked if he could bring 2 friends along. I agreed, and we planned out a day of fun, arcade, pizza, and a movie. They were all activities that I know my son and his friends, nerdy middle school boys, would enjoy. When I told my wife about our plans, she suggested that we should have a family outing instead and proposed a local kiddie play place that my stepdaughters apparently love. I said that Isaac and his friends would be very disappointed and that he wouldn't have fun at a kiddie play place. She tried to convince me that Isaac could still have fun because there was an arcade, 2 claw machines, a pinball table, and a small DDR machine. She also said that since he sees his friends at school every day, family time should be prioritized over friends. I told her that it was unfair to force Isaac to spend his birthday at a kiddie play place instead of with his friends. She accused me of favoritism and of not loving my stepdaughters as much as Isaac. This hit me pretty hard because I grew up with a stepfather who neglected me in favor of his own kids, and I've been trying my hardest to be the father figure I never had. I've been spiraling down a rabbit hole of doubt about my own choices, and for the sake of my own sanity, would I be the a-hole? Say, I would never ask the girls to spend their birthday doing something Isaac wanted to do, and you should show the same respect. Also, she's gaslighting the f*** out of you, and I'm betting it's not the first time. You would not be the a-hole. Ironically, if you did go along with your wife's idea, you would be showing favoritism to your stepdaughters over your son. Stand your ground. Your wife is emotionally manipulating you, not the a-hole. Play place is not somewhere a 13-year-old lad wants to take his friends for his birthday. It's his birthday, not the daughter's. As much as I understand the wanting to do family things, you can do that on another day. Not the a-hole, but shouldn't you be concerned that your wife is neglecting your son in favor of her own kids? It seems like she's accusing you of doing what she's actually doing by trying to force Isaac into the kiddie play place for his birthday. Is this a pattern for her? Not the a-hole? Your wife is showing favoritism to her daughters. This is Isaac's birthday celebration, not Emma and Ava's. And does she know about your issues with your step-parent? Because if she does, then she's a bigger a-hole for using it against you. Am I the a-hole for taking up 2 seats on a bus? I ride the bus because I can't afford a car, insurance, gas, etc. I'm 19F and I live in the US for context. A couple days ago, I was on a bus that wasn't that busy, not empty, but there were multiple unused seats and no one had to stand. I'd just gone shopping and had heavy bags that were hard to carry and hardly fit in front of my legs. So I sat in one seat and placed my bags on the seat next to me, essentially taking up 2 seats on my own, since it wasn't crowded when I got on and didn't see an issue. And like I said, the bags were super heavy and hard to carry, so I wanted to set them down. The bus ride was kind of long, and as it went on, more and more people got on the bus. It eventually got pretty crowded to the point where some people had to stand up. I didn't ever move my bag or offer a seat to someone. In my experience, most people don't want to sit next to strangers anyway, and a lot of the time, people will end up standing instead of sitting in an empty seat next to someone they don't know. Also, no one said anything to me. At the last stop, ended at the bus station where pretty much everyone was getting off, someone passive-aggressively told me, "You could have moved your bag and not been inconsiderate and rude. Everyone wants to sit, not just you," or something along those lines. I didn't really respond because I didn't know what to say. The person who said that never asked me to move my stuff, and if they did, I probably would have. So I don't understand how I was being rude. They could have asked during the ride instead of insulting me after it was already done. Buses are also generally first come, first serve, so I think my behavior was normal. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. If there's no seat, move your freaking bag, lol. How can you ride it and think you aren't? You're the a-hole. You don't wait for someone to ask you to do the right thing. You're the a-hole. Once the bus was getting more crowded, to the point where people were standing, you should have moved your bags. You shouldn't need to be asked to do so. It's just a common courtesy. You're the a-hole. You saw the bus was full and didn't move your bags. That's exactly what rude a-holes do. Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to learn sign language? I, 49F, recently married my husband, 52M, who has a deaf 7-year-old daughter. She communicates solely via ASL. For some background, my daughter, 17F, is generally very non-problematic teenager. She does amazing in school and has never caused any problems other than regular teenage hormone stuff. However, she doesn't like my husband and stepdaughter. She's not outwardly rude, but basically ignores their existence. Skipped stepdaughter's birthday party, doesn't engage in anything other than basic small talk with my husband. I did try to do family activities together to have the bond and all, but I stopped pushing it when it didn't happen, and as long as she's not being outwardly rude or harmful to them, I can't exactly punish her for not liking them. Now, since my relationship with my now husband started getting serious, I started taking ASL classes and am now basically as fluent as a hearing person can be. My daughter, however, never made an effort, which is okay since she technically has no responsibility towards her. However, recently my daughter has started watching Stepdaughter paid when we aren't around, which changes things. In my opinion, since she is now spending time in which she is responsible for a young child, she needs to learn at least basic communication. When I brought it up to her, she outright refused to make any effort at all. I tried recommending YouTube videos, but she refused to try learning even a couple words. She's saying that she's not responsible for my choice to be in the life of a disabled child. child. This issue has also been causing a lot of problems in my marriage. My husband confided in me that he's starting to feel uncomfortable with his young daughter living in with someone who is so cold. She refuses to even make the most basic effort or engage with her at all. He has brought up that he is considering divorce due to his concerns about how stepdaughter will be affected by this. So given all that, I had to finally put my foot down. I told my daughter that we have a disabled person living in our household for the foreseeable future, and if she wants to live here for college, graduating next month, she has to at least learn basic ASL. She doesn't have to like her stepfather and stepsister, nor does she have to hang out with them, but she has to have the ability to communicate with her for the sake of safety and basic decency. I made it clear that if she chooses not to, she is welcome to live in a dorm that I will pay for. It's just that living in our house, that is also my stepdaughter's house, my husband and I paid for the house equally. Comes with basic rules. Well, my daughter hasn't spoken to me for 7 days, so it's about time I ask. Am I the a-hole? Everybody sucks here except the youngling. Your daughter is the a-hole because she misplaces her frustration and emotional discomfort of your new marriage on her stepsister, the last person on earth who it should be put on. Maybe she even resents that you made her watch, paid or not. Your husband is the a-hole because he threatens you with divorce over this. Instead of talking and asking your daughter how she feels, or consider a different babysitter, he pulls out the nuclear option to your relationship. You are the a-hole because you throw your daughter under the bus for marriage's sake and then threaten to kick her out instead of being a mother and trying to understand her and offer her a bailout, aka a different babysitter. Edit, disagreeing with my POV is fine, but you don't need to DM me insults. Info, when does she turn 18? He has brought up that he is considering divorce due to his concerns about how stepdaughter will be affected by this. I'm gonna divorce you unless you kick out your 17-year-old daughter or make her learn sign language is an ugly ultimatum. Daughter no longer watches stepdaughter. Problem solved. I don't think trying to force this is going to end well. I think it's no big deal to learn a few basics in another language, but that's just me. Maybe he should have thought about this / checked before marriage. Gonna go with you're the a-hole. This isn't her marriage, her stepdaughter, or her responsibility. Obvious you're the a-hole. You get it right in the first part of this post when you point out that your daughter doesn't like, not does she have any responsibility towards your husband and stepdaughter. It's only when your husband threatens you with consequences as you start f***ing up. Yeah, your daughter definitely shouldn't be babysitting her without knowing ASL, so find a different babysitter. You threatening to kick her out of her own home because you are actively choosing your stepdaughter over her is disgusting. You're the a-hole for having presumably years to see your daughter doesn't consider your new family to be her family. She's allowed to be indifferent to what are essentially some random roommates you've decided to move in. Not everyone has the skill or time to learn a second language, and you've decided that in her senior year, when she's so busy with all that entails, she needs to learn an entirely new skill to satisfy these random roommates of yours. Otherwise, you're permanently kicking her out of her home and your life. Get a whiteboard for them to communicate with each other in emergencies, and then deal with the fact that you've done a terrible job blending these two families. Am I the a-hole for not giving my coworker my day off because I want to play a video game? Okay, so anyone in the video game world knows that next week the new Legend of Zelda game comes out after like 5+ years of waiting. I'm a massive fan. When the release date was revealed, I immediately requested PTO for that date as I plan on staying home that day and enjoying the new game. What I didn't realize was that the day I asked off of is Friday before Mother's Day. My company has had to limit the request off for that date now, as many people have been asking off for it. I had previously told some of my coworkers I was planning on staying home to play the game, and I guess word got around because one of my coworkers asked me after work to give her my PTO so she can travel for Mother's Day. I explained to her that I requested this day off months ago for a specific reason and I wasn't really willing to change it. She got pretty upset with me, claiming I care more about video games than family and whatnot. I honestly don't really care about her not being able to travel because I feel like if this was an important date, then you would have requested off early, like I did. Anyways, I firmly told her no, but she told some of my other coworkers and they are pissed at me and calling me an a-hole for not giving up the date. Am I the a-hole? Edited typos. Ugh, this one's gonna be ugly. I would have told her I care more about my family than video games, your family not so much. Her family's not your responsibility and she should have planned better. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Same goes for any other holiday. I'm child-free by choice, and people always seem to think that means I should be the one working holidays. It doesn't matter if the reason you have the day off is for a video game, it's your day off, enjoy it. Birthday week, Mother's Day week. People need to calm down. Not the a-hole. Mother's Day has been on the calendar all year. Hell, they could have figured out when Mother's Day 2023 was last year. Enjoy the game. Not the a-hole. You're allowed to care more about your own happiness than about her happiness. Oh, I guess it wasn't that ugly after all. Silly me. Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my neighbors after they took a package off my porch? I, 38F, live alone in the house I grew up in. It was left to me by my mother after she passed away 10 years ago. About 4 years ago, a couple about my age moved in next door, and we've pretty much been at odds since day one. There have been numerous times and issues that we've disagreed on. I have 3 cats that I sometimes let out into my backyard. My neighbors have a dog that would jump the 5-foot chain link fence separating our yards to chase my cats. I told my neighbors if I caught their dog doing it again, I would call the cops. They actually had the audacity to ask if I would be willing to split the cost of a taller privacy fence instead of, training your dog not to jump the fence. Obviously, I refused, as I wasn't the one causing the problem, and the fence is technically on their property anyway. They ended up putting in a taller fence. Then they asked me to split the cost of taking down an ash tree that was on their property. It'd become infested with some bug that killed the tree and dead limbs were falling on their driveway. They had the city come out and the survey guy said the tree was actually about 10% on my property. I told them the tree was theirs and if they want it down, they'll have to pay for it because I don't have a problem with it. Needless to say, we're not friends. They've also thrown some loud, late night parties that include bonfires and loud music that I had to call the cops for as well. I'm currently out of town visiting family for a couple weeks. I have a friend who comes over to my house every day to check on my cats and check for mail and packages. I have medication for my cats that are delivered regularly. I got a notification the other day that some packages were delivered, so I texted my friend to let them know. But before my friend could get there, I got a notification from my Ring doorbell, pulled up the live feed, and saw my neighbor on my patio. I asked him what he was doing, and he said a package of theirs got delivered to my house by mistake, so he was just grabbing it. I told him to leave, and that my friend would bring over his package when she comes over. He said he's not waiting for that and tried to leave. I told him that if he takes my package from my porch, I'm calling the cops. He shoved the package in front of the camera and said, "That's my name and address, OP. I'm taking my package." Then he walked away. So I called the police and told them that he stole a package from me and I have video proof. They said they would investigate. When my friends got there a little later, the police were talking to my neighbors. The police must have left while she was checking on my cats because when she went to leave, it was just my neighbors outside. The husband yelled at her to tell me that I'm a huge a-hole and that I need to take the police off speed dial and let them deal with more important stuff instead of using them as my own personal problem-solving service. Oh, this one's gonna be ugly. You're the a-hole. I get the fence thing. You could have pitched in on a tree just to chill things out. Calling the police about the parties without talking to them about it first is very a-hole. If it was his package and it had their name and address on it, calling the cops on them was also an a-hole move. You're officially an a-hole neighbor now. You're the a-hole, sure. You don't get along, but stop calling the cops for trivial matters. Do you actually think they were stealing a package? Or were you just trying to continue this grudge and be petty? You're the a-hole. They sound like absolutely awful neighbors, and under any circumstances I'd side with you in a second, but you called the cops and accused them of stealing their own package. They didn't steal from you. They fetched something that belonged to them off your porch. And while yes, I suppose they were trespassing, if you get medication delivered, then you know that sometimes packages can't wait. And perhaps this was a situation like that, and it doesn't sound like you cared to listen to anything they had to explain. If you want to be seen as the better person than your a-hole neighbors, then you have to actually be the better person. You're the a-hole. You sound like the miserable neighbor in this scenario, not them. Yep, there we go. Get owned, neighbor. Stupid idiot. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that my brother didn't invite my son over for a slumber party? I have a 10-year-old son, Julian, who is pretty close with my nephew and his cousin, Parker. You can't separate them when they ate together. I live 2 blocks away from my brother and his wife and Parker. I asked my brother on Friday if Parker wanted Julian to spend the weekend at his house, since it was a long weekend. My brother said that they had already made plans, and I asked what plans, and maybe Parker would like to have Julian to tag along, so he has a playmate. He said it was something for his wife. On Saturday, I found out that my brother lied. Parker actually had a slumber party, and I found out because I saw them all walking to Denny's yesterday morning. I called my brother out, and he said he didn't want my son to feel left out, so he lied. He said it didn't feel right to have an innocent 10-year-old around a bunch of 12-year-old boys because they'd eat him alive. I said that was bullshit, and he needs to text Julius right now and ask if he'd like to join this weekend slumber party because he'll be crushed if he finds out that he was left out. He said no. So I ended up calling our mom, who lives with my brother, and explained the situation. That caused a lot of drama between her and my brother and my sister-in-law, but my son got invited and declined because he is holding out to go to the aquarium. My brother was livid, and I said that if he had asked in the first place, then none of this would have happened and there would be no drama. You're the a-hole. Your son is not entitled to an invite, and no one likes someone trying to force someone to invite you. Info. Why do you think your 10-year-old son should be invited to a 12-year-old slumber party? Why do you think your son should spend 3-day weekend at your brother's house? Why did you run to your mommy about an issue that did not involve her? You're the a-hole. Your son acts more mature than you do. You're the a-hole. There's a huge maturity difference between 10 and 12, so your brother's decision to exclude Julian was reasonable. You were wildly out of line to call your mother and start drama. You're the a-hole. Your nephew was allowed to have his own friend group. Stop micromanaging your brother. You're the a-hole. You wanted a weekend free from Julian and got mad that your brother didn't want to go along with it. You are not entitled to push your kid off on other people, nor is your brother obligated to include your son in everything he does with his kid. Don't hold your breath for that aquarium invitation. Am I the a-hole for swearing at a coworker for contacting me while on Do Not Disturb? I have a coworker who comes to me for assistance. That's fine. However, when I'm on Do Not Disturb in Teams, he will send multiple emails or call me on my phone. It's never anything important, just minor stuff that could wait until my meetings are over. I've talked to him 3 or 4 times, telling him that he needs to either wait or if he must email me, it has to stop at 1 and I'll reply to him when I can. He's sent emails every few minutes asking for an answer, and if I decline his call, he'll call right back. He's been talked to by management about this. Last week, I sent him a terse email when he emailed me several times during an important meeting. Stop. I've told you I'll get back to you when I can. If I'm on Do Not Disturb, that doesn't mean unless your name is Joe. This is the last time I'll be polite. Finally, he emailed me again on Monday multiple times. So I replied with something along the lines of, do you know how to fucking read? Have you listened to a goddamn thing I've said? Do Not Disturb means leave me the fuck alone. We've had polite conversations conversations about this, but I'm gonna be more blunt. Off. You're actively hindering my work. Note, he's not trying to bait me. He just thinks he should be able to get an answer right away from a person. He and a few coworkers claim I was an asshole and out of line for swearing at him and being demeaning. Am I the a-hole? Everybody sucks here. Your correct course of action should have been to CC his manager on one of the multiple emails you get from him, explaining that you've asked him to stop calling you on your phone and sending you multiple emails demanding an answer when you're in meetings. If you cuss out your coworkers, expect a call from HR or talking to yourself about professional conduct in the workplace. A-hole plus a-hole equals 2 a-holes, not 1 a-hole and the one guy in the right when it comes to a professional setting. Everybody sucks here. A colleague is annoying, so rather than take it to their supervisor, I started swearing at them and sent them an incredibly aggressive email. Both of you are in the wrong here. He's guilty of not being patient, but you're being abusive and hostile over a comparatively petty annoyance. Your response is wildly disproportionate to the offense, and if he's sending you multiple emails while you're on D&D, take it to his supervisor and let them deal with it. That's literally their job. Now you've just made yourself look like an aggressive a-hole and potentially created more problems for yourself. It might have been satisfying to blow up at him, but it wasn't helpful and could very easily bite you in the ass. Everybody sucks here. Your coworker sounds like a nightmare, honestly. But you're the a-hole because you responded in a way that turned an inconvenience into a hostile work environment. What are you doing checking your emails during a meeting anyway? That's on you. If you're annoyed by the notification sound, then turn off your notifications. You can prevent calls by taking your landline off the hook or setting up D&D on your mobile phone. Am I the a-hole for neutering a cat that was clearly owned? I run a TNR program for feral cats. Non-profit. I catch all cats and get them the medical attention they need myself out of my own pocket. I love helping them. A lot of the cats are not able to be rehomed, so I fix them and release them, get them their shots and hope for the best. I'm not a large-scale operation. Recently, I was called to an area overrun with orange cats. They were everywhere and I mostly ended up handing it over to the professionals. I did, however, manage to grab 3 very sweet cats. 2 were terrified, skinny, a little beaten up, but overall friendly, and the third one was a little gent. He was tubby, well-groomed, fish pattern collar, the works. My plan was to find his parents and drop him off with a warning to keep him in due to large amounts of traps being set. Then the little bastard sprayed the inside of my car to the freaking max. So apparently he wasn't fixed. I couldn't really tell, long hair, and assumed he was, so left my covers off. Big mistake. I debated taking him home or taking him to get neutered with the rest. He was an indoor-outdoor cat, indicated by his collar tag, and with so many strays, I'm certain some were carrying his genetics. Ultimately, I took him in with me and got him neutered. No chip, so I called the number on his tag and informed them where their cat was and gave them time slots to pick him up or have him dropped off. The owners went ballistic. They were cursing at me and came to collect their cat not 20 minutes later, called me a kidnapper, blamed me for their child having nightmares, scared over their cat going missing. I tried to explain that he needed to be fixed if he was going to be outside, but they didn't want to know. They said I should have called immediately regardless. I spoke to my rescue friend who said I was in the wrong, even though we know we are technically in the right. We didn't have the legal ground to do it, and it wasn't my decision to make. I did apologize, but I blocked their numbers. The mom is flaming me on Facebook and DMing people I know. I have a duty to care for stray cats. Me knowing an unneutered male was roaming free and not doing anything about it was a concern for said stray cats. Things are still tense between my rescue buddy and I don't completely disagree. I know I crossed the line, even if it was for the greater good. People are finding out and taking sides, so I'm not sure who to really believe was right here. So am I the a-hole? Holy. You are the a-hole. You did kidnap their cat and made a superbly arrogant decision to have him neutered without the owner's permission. You can judge them all they want for letting their cat outside. The first thing you have done was to call the cat's people and ask, hey, I found your cat. Did you know he was outside? That's basic due diligence right there. Translated, what decent people who are not assholes regularly do. How Yvette decided to neuter the cat means you have taken off the collar and obscured the owner's information, or they would not have done it without their permission. You just made yourself hella actionable, legally. You don't know if they were planning to breed the cat and he just happened to get out. Everybody sucks here. The owners for letting an intact pet outside unsupervised to breed, and you for having a surgical medical procedure done to an animal that you knew had owners without the owner's consent. Regardless of the morality of allowing pets to contribute to the stray population, for which the owner is an a-hole, making medical decisions for someone else's pet makes you a massive a-hole. Everyone sucks. Info, you said the third one was a little gent, he was tubby, well-groomed, fish pattern collar, the works. My plan was to find his parents and drop him off with a warning to keep him in due to the large amounts of traps being set. Then the little bastard sprayed the inside of my car to the freaking max. This really makes it sound like you changed your mind out of spite. Can you be absolutely sure you didn't? Everybody sucks here. You should have taken the cat back when you knew it had an owner, and ultimately it wasn't your decision to have it neutered. But that should have had their cat neutered and not let it outside in an area with feral strays. As someone who works in cat rescue, I do find their ranting about the fear of the possibility of the cat not coming back for one one night a bit rich, given all the other awful things that can happen to indoor-outdoor cats outside in North America. I do know in the UK this practice is less risky and more common. That fear about their cat not coming back for one night probably won't change their behavior, and they will keep letting them out. Not the a-hole. They are irresponsible pet owners and are endangering the community by having an unneutered male cat about. It's unethical and should be illegal. Am I the a-hole for not hosting a party my wife planned earlier this week when I had planned long ago to only play video games this weekend? So Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out today on the Switch, and I had been looking forward to and planning for this game for years. Zelda has always had a place in my heart where I can escape the mundane of daily life, especially as an adult who works a full-time job, pays the bills, etc. No kids in the household, just me and my wife. Starting 6 or so months ago, I told my wife that when this game came out, I would essentially become a hermit and go into a hole for the entire weekend of its release. I would eat, sleep, and breathe Zelda. I continued to reiterate to her my plans every time the topic came up, and even more so as the game got closer to the release. I took time off of work as to put this on my work calendar as soon as she knew the launch date. Fast forward to earlier this week, and I reminded her again that I would essentially disappear this weekend to do what I want to do, which is to play the new game all weekend. She then plans a movie night with a bunch of neighbors for tonight on launch day. I made sure to clean up the house, do the dishes, and even did like 4 loads of laundry and reorganized the linen closet in preparation for this weekend. The time for the party rolled around, and I took a break from playing, made all the popcorn, and set everything up in our home theater for her, and then went back to play my game. As guests showed up, I welcomed them in and showed them the way to the theater room and continued to play my game. When the movie was over, I greeted them again as they left, and then I helped clean up the kitchen on another short break. Fast forward to now, my wife is mad at me for playing my game downstairs while she hosted the movie night alone. She said it was weird and stupid that I couldn't carve out a couple hours for this movie night. It's just a stupid video game, she is saying. I reminded her that I had my plans for this weekend months ago, and that what I did doesn't contradict what I've been telling her I would do for months now. So am I the a-hole for playing my new game while she hosted the movie night? Not the a-hole. She arranged this when she had known for months what your plans were, and you did a lot of preparation for her event, took breaks to speak to her guests, and even helped clean up after her event. She's being utterly unreasonable. She said this was weird and stupid that I couldn't carve out a couple hours for this movie night. I'm afraid that this was done deliberately. It's just a stupid video game, she is saying. Yes, deliberately. Not the a-hole. I'll be the minority by saying regardless of what you were doing, you already planned it and told her said plans. You also did help with the party, so it's not like you didn't do anything. It's just the stupid video game, she's saying. Tell her the alternative was just the stupid movie. She openly disrespected your wishes and your hobby, then had the audacity to be mad at you? I would have a long talk with her. This does not sound good, and maybe something else is happening. Not the a-hole. Your wife trying to pull some shit. You did your part and gave ample warning. Am I the a-hole for not letting my girlfriend wear a bikini in front of my family? So me, 26M, and my girlfriend, 22F, have been dating for around 2 years now. We've had our ups and downs, but overall we have a great relationship and I definitely see a future together. We really love and respect each other and connect well, but the thing is we come from different backgrounds. I come from a Muslim background. I'm not that religious though, and she is white. However, we have still made it work and our similarities are much more than our differences. Now my GF does like wearing a bit short clothing when out and about, which used to bother me at first and made me uncomfortable, and we did have a few minor fights over it, but eventually I came to terms with it. However, recently an embarrassing situation happened. There was a pool party at my cousin's house and my parents were there too. I had recently introduced my GF to my parents as well, so this was a good time to meet the family and relatives. I specifically told her to please pack something more on the modest side as my family would be there, and most women usually don't wear such revealing stuff in our culture. She didn't give much of a response and just nodded. But what did I see in the pool? Her wearing a 2-piece bikini. Kinda cheeky bottoms too. Even 1 piece would have been better, but nah. She went all in this time. She was probably the one dressed most immodestly. No one said anything, but afterwards I was so embarrassed I couldn't show my face to my parents at all. I did talk to her about it and scolded her a bit, and she told me she can wear whatever the hell she wants whenever she wants. I couldn't say anything afterwards. We've been quiet to each other for a while now, but slowly making up now. Am I the a-hole? You are the a-hole. She can indeed wear whatever she wants, and it's inappropriate for you to dictate otherwise or scold her about it. I'm not that religious though, then proceeds to act like someone that religious. This doesn't sound religious to me, though it is cultural. My family isn't religious at all, and we don't wear cheeky bikinis around each other. Those bikinis are for romantic vacations. Info! Why did you start dating someone who you wanted to change? You are the a-hole. You scolded her. What the frick? She's a grown woman, not your child, and she's 1000% correct. She can wear whatever the hell she wants to. It's her body, not yours. Let her. You can't let her do anything, as again, she's a grown woman. Everybody sucks here. Not true. Contrary to what you posted, it does not sound like either of you respect the other. She should have been more conservative out of respect for you, and you should not be embarrassed by her. Cross-cultural relationships are hard. Wishing you luck. No, this guy just sucks. He is the asshole for sure. Am I the a-hole for dropping out of my cousin's wedding party after a prank? Throw away. My F26 cousin F29 got engaged a few months ago and asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was so excited to accept. Her sister F32 is the maid of honor, and there are 3 other bridesmaids, and the date is set for April 2024. On April 1st of this year, she sent a PDF to the bridesmaid group chat that made me really angry. It was a list of wedding party responsibilities, rules, and regulations. It included a picture of the bridesmaid dresses that we'd be wearing. wearing. They were hideous, and she told us that we have to pay $800 for them, and they only went up to a size 8, so anyone bigger than that would need to lose weight before the wedding. That made me so angry because I wear a size 10, but also she's like a size 12, so even fatter than me. Other ridiculous things she added: none of us were allowed to be tanner than her for the wedding, so she told us that none of us could spend significant time in the sun for the next year. She wanted to have longer hair than all of her bridesmaids, so she said we'd all have to cut our hair to our shoulders or shorter. She wanted to do a choreographed dance with all of us and insisted that we go to 3-hour dance classes with her every Sunday until the wedding, a year away. She said that she wanted her bachelorette party to be in Paris and that we would all need to chip in $3K. There were more, but I was so angry I stopped reading and muted the group chat for a few hours. I was so livid and hurt that I decided to drop out of the wedding party, but I didn't say anything right away. The next day, I checked the group chat again, and everyone else had been chatting about how funny the bride's prank was. Apparently, at the bottom of the PDF, it said April Fool's, but I hadn't read that far because I was so mad. Everyone else thought it was hilarious, but it still really rubbed me the wrong way. I reached out to the bride to tell her how much this hurt my feelings, and she did apologize, but even though it's been almost 2 months, I'm still really angry. I decided this week that I no longer want to be a bridesmaid because of the mean-spirited prank and told my cousin. Now she's really hurt and angry, and the maid of honor and other bridesmaids and some of the family members are blowing up my phone saying that I'm overreacting to an innocent prank. But I don't believe the pranks are only funny if the recipients find them funny, and I definitely didn't. So am I the a-hole? You are the a-hole. Even if it wasn't the best prank in the world, it was still a harmless prank done on April Fool's Day. With the mention that this is a prank in the document itself, no one specifically targeted, it was a group prank. You didn't like the prank, and that happens to be fine by itself, but the whole 2 months after a grudge big enough, you are dropping out of the wedding out of spite? That is some serious overreaction here, especially for a group prank where you were not specifically targeted. Yeah, I'm going with you're the a-hole here. You didn't read it properly and leapt to righteous anger. A prank requires a trick is played on someone, or it's not a prank. You didn't read to the end and therefore missed the part making it clear it was a prank. I would suggest you're pissed at yourself for falling for something with April Fool's written on it. Perhaps speak to someone about your anger issues. Something so ridiculous is something to laugh at and not get angry at. I was twitching when I read the word prank because usually on here, pranks are code for bullying, but this one, honestly, that's pretty good. I was actually chuckling and it said April Fool's right on the PDF. She didn't let it go on for a while? Come on, you're ridiculous. You are the a-hole. You are the a-hole. It was so outrageous that it was obviously a joke. That's it for today's video, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful night.